Hello, I'm Howard Mann, creator of Conscious Shifting, and welcome to Conscious Shifting. Before we get started, a quick warning and disclaimer. Conscious shifting and all known side effects will improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health while providing the ideal environment for spiritual awakening, helping you live the life of your dreams and influence the world in a positive way. So, if that sounds like something you'd like to be part of, you can either follow us on Facebook or subscribe on YouTube, and then join us here Wednesday nights, 6 p.m. California time for Conscious Shifting. The best way to communicate with us is through our daily thought-provoking posts, or during a live, or during the replay of a live. Simply place your question in the comment box, and we will respond from a spiritual perspective for the benefit of all. Hi, Kim. All right. So we actually have two questions of the week this week. The first one, how do we forgive and let go? Do we trust in God? Understand that humans are imperfect and make mistakes, but that doesn't mean that you have to absorb their toxic energy. You have a choice. You can let go, or you can continue to suffer. And yes, place your trust in God. All right, so the second one, who comes back to do that for me? I mean, I can't do it for anyone and not have anyone do it for me. That's burning myself out to light everyone else up. So I'm confused by this. Please explain. I'm really trying hard to understand. That was in reaction to a post. It was a quote and said that leadership is not being the best. It's helping everybody else be their best. And so it's not about you exhausting yourself for others. It's about you helping others to be their best. And in the process, you're being your best. It can be as simple as living your life as the highest version of yourself possible. That's going to influence everyone around you. Now, it may not be immediate. People awaken in their own time, so you have to give them that space. But you can plant the seeds. And at some point in their journey, when the conditions are right, those seeds are going to grow and bloom. Then the world becomes a better place and everybody wins. All right. Good questions. So let's get started. Everybody take a deep breath way down to that lower energy center, just below the belly button. And then as you exhale, relax. Another big deep breath. And as you exhale, release all tension. And one more time, big deep breath. And relax. All right. I see Kim and Ray and Cheryl. Love, laugh, and be happy in the house. Okay, so tonight's topic is signs of spiritual awakening. And I'm often asked to do lives about this topic. The thing is that many people think that spiritual awakening is all peaceful and there's no downside. And that's not necessarily the case. And just because it's spiritual doesn't mean that it's going to be all angelic and, filled with warm light. It's not that spiritual awakening in and of itself is a problem, but what you go through in the awakening process is growth. So you're moving from lower consciousness to higher consciousness, and that transition can get messy. It's most likely going to be a wild ride and at times confusing. Hi, Trey. Thank you, Cheryl. It's not a matter of intelligence and education. A lot of people think that you've got to be really smart or, have a bunch of degrees. when it comes to spiritual awakening, those things, they're not really going to help you. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's not how you awaken spiritually. The thing is that you can be a genius, yet if you're identified with the ego, then you're in denial about reality and self. And so sometimes being really smart can even get in the way. And this can range from self-righteousness to self-loathing. Either way, it's self-destructive. And spiritual awareness is healing through self-realization. And that's not something that you learn. It's something that you realize. You're already it. You just don't believe it. You don't understand that that's who you are. You've been brainwashed and conditioned. People, for the most part, are conditioned beings, and that's just how it is. That's a worldwide problem. But as far as spiritual awakening, it usually starts with you'll start getting these uneasy sensations. And that might be where you are. You know that something's missing and you're not really sure what it is. And you can't really explain what it is or how you know. It's just it's a weird sensation. And so you may look to religious or scientific explanations, and as incredible as they may seem, maybe you're realizing that they're still incomplete, that there's still something missing. And if that's where you are, I assure you that you're beginning to awaken spiritually. You're on the path already. Sometimes in a flash, you'll gain understanding on a much deeper level. I mean, just boom, like that. And it can be things that you thought you understood about yourself or life or even God. And then suddenly they come into focus on a much deeper level. And you realize that there's a whole lot more to this than you previously thought. And you're right. You may even be at a point, where you're starting to wonder if you're going crazy. Well, you're not at all. You're starting to realize the craziness of the world. And what you're experiencing is the beginning stages of spiritual awakening. If you have any of these symptoms, you're already on the path. You're already on the path. So another way to look at these symptoms or these sensations is it's telling you that you're ready. Spiritual awakening is not something that can be forced. It's not something that can be learned. It's just something that happens when the time is right. But if you're having these sensations, the time is right. Awesome, Trey. Awesome. So it means that you're ready, but there's a problem. And that problem is called ordinary consciousness. In other words, your thoughts and emotions, the mental conditioning of the world has resulted in subconscious programming that's standing in the way of clarity. And so some of this is starting to come into focus. You're starting to realize that there's something not quite right here. Another way to look at it is life's baggage has a hold on you. And again, it has nothing to do with intelligence. And the solutions to mankind's problems, for the most part, are spiritual. But most people understand very little on a spiritual level. And Kim says, and once you know, you grow, and you ain't no going back. That's right. That's right. It's pretty much a one-way street. You can, sometimes people hit the pause button, and they may even go into like a self-destruct mode. But in terms of awakening, once you know something, you can't really unknow it, and it's going to be there until you're ready to deal with it. So most people suffer from a severe case of spiritual amnesia. And spiritual amnesia is a condition that prevents you from realizing who and what you are. And what you are is spirit. The sensations you're having are confirmation that on some level you do know. That's where this inner conflict is coming from. There's the reality you've been living and what you've been taught, and pretty much the way the rest of the world rolls. And then there's something else going on that you're realizing, and you know that to be the truth. And you may not be sure how you know. That's common. You don't know how you know, but you know. It's kind of a weird deal. The thing is, when you get into the spiritual realm, when you get into these levels of consciousness, words don't really do them justice. They're hard to define. In fact, as soon as you start describing the experience, you're no longer in the experience. Now you're trying to describe the experience. So you've taken yourself out of the experience and into your intellect. You're analyzing the experience that you were having until you started thinking about it. And then that killed it. Cheryl says, recently had some painful dental issues and now realize it was indeed a new direction of spiritual awakening, and God healed me and took the pain away. There you go. And I that's an awesome time to have that happen, because dental work can be painful. Trey says, my tolerance for low vibrations is low. Yeah, you just have to, you have to learn to be patient. All this stuff will happen when it's supposed to happen. And everybody's a little bit different. Everybody's in a different place. Some people wake up in some ways and not others. And some people are just not even close. But you just kind of have to give people that space, you know. Like in the question, one of the questions of the week, the best thing that you can do is just be the highest version of yourself. And that's going to influence people. So it might happen in an instant. They might just go, oh, wow, you know, and boom, they shift. It might be seeming like they don't get it at all, and they just blow you off. They may even get triggered and get kind of snarky with you, but they've been influenced just the same. The seed has been planted, and in time, it's going to germinate. When that time is, it depends on a lot of things. And again, it can't really be forced. So you just have to understand that's what's going on. And just be patient and forgiving. They know not what they do. That's I'll go to that. So in essence, you're a spiritual being and you're having a spiritual experience. You're not capable of anything else. A lot of people, they, you know, when it comes to the spiritual awakening, oh, I'm looking for that spiritual experience, and I burn the incense and I wear the clothes and I got the beads, and you're already having a spiritual experience. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. If you like incense, burn it. If you like loose fitting clothes, I love loose fitting clothes, then wear them. But that doesn't make you spiritual. You already are. You already are. That's why they call it the awakening. You know, it's not something that you learn or something that you achieve. It's not something that you do. It's something that you are, and you already are. You always have been. But that spiritual amnesia, and the conditioning of the world would have you believe otherwise. Cheryl says listening more to the spirit, not responding if necessary. Many times, so much growing comes with listening and silence. There you go. Not reacting. Okay, I was thinking that. Yeah, that's a good point. It's like sometimes more is said without saying anything. And sometimes that's the best thing to do. It's like the old saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. And that's a pretty good way to roll. It means that at the moment the words escape you. So if you can't say something that's going to be to the benefit of everybody, then you might as well not bother wasting the energy on saying anything in the first place. It's like kind of like if you can help people, help them, but if you can't help them, at least don't hurt them. So I think Gandhi was the one that said that, but it's a great way to live. Trey, I know I have more growing to do when I want to respond. Well, we all do. We wouldn't be here if we didn't. So awakening is shifting from lower levels of consciousness to higher levels of consciousness. And awakening is an excellent name for it because it's very much like you awaken from a dream. In a dream, everything seems real. And then you wake up and you realize that it was just a dream. So when you spiritually awaken, it's kind of the same sensation. What seemed so real isn't. Been living your whole life, and I thought this was the way it was. And all of a sudden you realize it isn't. It isn't at all. You realize that you are actually living in a dream, in a land of illusion, and at times a nightmare. And once you spiritually awaken, everything's different. And you'll never be the same. You can't be, because you've risen into a higher state of being. You understand things on deeper levels. And no matter what, you really can't go back to unknowing that. You can pretend, you can go on a bender, you can do a lot of things, but you're never going to unknow what you know. And sooner or later, you're going to own it. And then you'll be ready for the next conscious shift. Yeah. You guys are funny. So there's three things that you may be noticing. And that is that you're behaving in a way that's not true to you. You catch yourself saying and doing things that's not you. That's kind of weird. I mean, you're doing them, you're saying them, but it's not you. That's a very important realization. Another one is you're doing something, but you really don't understand what you're doing. Like, why am I doing this? This makes no sense to me. Or maybe you know what it is you're doing, but you don't know why you're doing it. Like, why am I doing this? There's no point to this. There's no value in this. It's not for the greater good. Why am I doing this? So if you're having those types of realizations, then that's telling you that you need to work on you, because you're living a false life. You're living the dream. You're not living as yourself. You're not living as spirit while temporarily in human form. You're living as a conditioned, limited human being. But these sensations are beginning stages of shifting into higher states of consciousness. So that's the way to look at those. It's not necessarily negative. That sounds kind of weird. Okay, why am I doing this? I don't know what I'm doing. This isn't the way I am. That sounds kind of negative, but the fact that you're realizing that it's not you, and you're questioning why you're doing it, and you're telling yourself this makes no sense. There's no value in this. This isn't for the greater good. Just those kinds of observations, you're already in a higher state of consciousness, or you wouldn't understand that. So you might not have completed the shift, but you're in the process of shifting, is what I'm saying, because you're realizing that you're something other than this. Maybe not completely grasping it yet, but still you're having that realization. So it's actually a good thing. Hi, Gil. How do you get to that level of conscious shift? Wow. It's honestly, it's by getting out of the way. That sounds weird, I know, but we live our lives thinking, we know who we are, we know who our neighbors are, our job, all the roles we play in life. We have opinions and judgments about things, what's right and wrong, what's good or bad, all this stuff. But anything that's an opinion, anything that's a judgment of any kind, anything that's based in space, like here or there, anything that's based in time, past, present, future, anything that fits any of those is from the ego. And the ego is a very primitive part of the brain. It's actually a reptilian level of consciousness, if you want to get down to it. Because as you start going into the more primitive parts of the brain, you get to the little base of the brain right on the top of the spinal column. Even reptiles have those. And within that's where the subconscious is, down in that lower area. And even reptiles have that. So it's a very primitive part of the brain. It's beginning to have an identity of self as separate from everything else. And it's necessary in the physical world in which we live. We're in this time-space continuum. And so, this dimension, this 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time where we live, the physical universe. And we have to be able to navigate space and time to function. You have to be able to plan. You have to, or you'll miss your plane. You have to show up at work on time. You have responsibilities and duties. You have to be able to, you wouldn't even be able to communicate with people without the ego. So it's a point of view. But that's all it is. What happened was, as spiritual beings, when we descended into matter, we manifested this body as basically our soul, where we are at on our spiritual journey, spiritual evolution. We manifested that in flesh and bone. Okay, fine. We have to have, we're here to work on stuff. We have to have a means of doing that. All good so far. The problem is that we started identifying with it, which further removed us from God. The first mistake we made was wondering what it would be like if we separated, which is impossible. We can't, because we're all parts of the whole. But we believe it to be the case. And that's when we descended into matter. Now we have to learn all the stuff we already knew in order to, in essence, get back home. And that's really what we're doing here. So to answer your question, how do you get to that level of consciousness? How do you shift consciously? You get out of the way, because who you think you are, if it's based in opinions, thoughts, emotions, judgments, time, space, that's not who you are. That's a false identity that you believe you are. And that false identity is creating the spiritual blocks that are blocking you from expressing who you really are. And so awakening is an undoing of that. And that's what I mean when I say get out of the way. You literally have to understand what the ego is and what thoughts and emotions are and what the nature of the universe is and accept it for what it is, but still from the perspective that you're a spiritual being experiencing a physical life. You're not a physical being trying to have a spiritual experience. You're a spiritual being temporarily in the human condition, temporarily living a physical life. And so when you realize that, the shifts will just start happening. But there's this constant inner work of setting the ego aside. And what you'll find is that, you have a lot of traumas or, emotional traumas, stored baggage that you have to work through or heal. And once you do, it's like you release all this toxic energy, you release these spiritual blocks, and you just start having clarity into deeper and deeper understandings of everything, not just the physical universe, but the spiritual realms, not just the nature of life and the nature of the physical universe, but the nature of God as well. But all of this, for most people, is a process, sometimes over many lifetimes. Very rare is somebody just, boom, they're there. There are people that's happened, Buddha and Jesus, for example, but it wasn't their first go around, so the lifetimes in which they manifested those levels of consciousness came after many lifetimes of preparing for that moment. Now, you can do it in an instant, but most people would explode if they tried. It's just so contrary to what we believe. I hope that helps. It's abstract. It's a lot, but in essence, most people identify with their ego. They believe that this mind body is who they are. They believe that the roles that they play in life are who they are. They believe that the judgments and opinions they have are their judgments and opinions. Again, their identity, and that's all false. It's just stuff that comes with a human mind body. But it's the human mind body is more like, if you want to buy ice cream, you have to drive to the market. You go get in a car and you drive down there to get your ice cream, but you're not the car. It's just the vehicle you're traveling in. Well, you can think of the mind body the same way. Once you start realizing these sorts of things, the shifts will just start happening, and you'll learn to trust it eventually. At first, it'll just be weird, but you'll always resonate with the truth. You'll always be drawn to it. You'll always know that there's something about it that's right, and you can use that as a compass. If it's negative in any way, if it's hurtful in any way to you or anybody else, then it's not spirit. It's not spirit. It's ego. Again, if it's based in time, if it's based in space, if it's based in opinions and judgments, think about it. All the negative stuff that's ego. So you need to set that aside. The shifts will just happen. You can't force them. You just get out of the way and it happens. So that was a long way of explaining that. You just get out of the way. But if I just say get out of the way without putting it in proper context, people don't get it. Okay, where was I? There we go. Okay. Trey says, I've had a lot of sadness lately watching people who are empty. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's a sign I wasn't even going to talk about tonight. We did a whole live on it not too long ago. But one of the things that happens as you start to spiritually awaken is you become more empathetic to people. You just have to learn to understand that that's all it is. You're starting to perceive their emotions as if they were yours, because this is going to throw some people for a loop, new people. Ultimately, we're all one spirit. And so you're on some level, you're starting to recognize that. And that's why people become empathic, because they're getting closer to their true nature and they're starting to see themselves in the other people. And so the other people's pain becomes their pain, because it is. But just remember that it's a process of undoing what's been done, and it gets messy, and people get kind of stuck, and they can be sad. Eventually they'll snap out of it, and you can't really do it for them. All you can be is just loving and kind and supportive, and you can't go, oh, I understand that you're in 32 levels down in consciousness. It's not like that at all. It's just that's where they are, that's where you are, and you're relating because you've been there. That's the truth. You've been there, so you understand it. And but the thing is, that's also a gift, because having been there, you can relate to that person. You can bridge to where that's person at, and give them a path out of it. Great healers, if you want to know the truth, are people that have healed. That's how they got the experience and the expertise to heal other people, because they've been there. It's a lot easier to talk about something you've done. Hi, Susan. Yes, Gil. Getting past the ego state. Now, remember, it's just a viewpoint. That's all it is. And just recognize that that's what it is. It's necessary, but it's not who you are. That's the distinction. It's necessary in a physical world to have a means of understanding and relating in the physical world and moving about, navigating space and time. But it's not who you are. It's more like a tool. More like a tool. If you're going to go out and cross the ocean, you need a good ship. If you're going to navigate space and time, you need a mind body. It's kind of like that. Kim, why does it take so long to heal all the traumas? Because we believe them to be the truth, and we have to get to a point where we understand that they're a falsehood. They're lies that we've adopted as reality. And for a lot of people, as strange as this sounds, for a lot of people, it's more comfortable to remain broken and hurt than it is to heal, because they know broken and hurt. They know all the players, they know all the rules. They've been doing it for a long time. In order to heal, you have to change. And that's scary to some people, more scary than just sticking with the pain that they're experiencing, because at least they know what that is and they're used to it. You can even, I've heard psychologists, I've read, where they're talking about people actually being addicted to the pain. It has something to do with the hormones that are released and all this, but it's kind of like a little kid that's starving for attention, and they'll misbehave to get attention, even though it's negative attention. It's still attention. Kind of the same thing. And we're just stubborn and, refuse to accept higher truths. It takes a while. For most people, it's a process. Trey, all the layers to unravel, rest and do more, I suppose. Yep, that's it. Just keep on keeping on. Good. I'm glad it makes sense. What is a book for beginners? Actually, you know what? The first book that I wrote is really a short, easy read, but it deals with a lot of beginning concepts and kind of explains them in a way that's easy to understand. I'm a simpleton, so that's, if I have a gift, that's what it is. I can take things that are really abstract and just break them down, like the mind body. Oh, if you need to go to the store for ice cream, you get in a car and you drive down there. Well, the mind body is kind of the same thing. I that's how I write. And so right from the page, the up at the top, featured posts, they're the books I've written. So if you click the arrow all the way to the right, is the first book, is called Limited to Limitless. I would start there. I can give you other books. I've read a few that I like, but they're a little more complex and a little more abstract. And if you don't have a foundation, they're kind of tough to follow and leave you a little stranded. So I would start with that one. I've written a few, but then if you get to where you're hungry for more, hit me up and I'll kick down with some books that deal with specific things depending on what you're looking for. Cheryl, letting go of the baggage and simplifying my mind with more love, choosing less negativity and toxic energy, more boundaries established in many areas. There you go. Gil, I did that and forgot about myself and then became unwell. Yeah, you can. And it's like a stagnation. It's what it is. You're on the path. You must be, but you can stagnate. And so, that you want to just, if necessary, just baby steps. But you know what? We talk about a different aspect of this every single week. And if you can't make the lives, if you go to the page under more, I think, are the lives. And if you click on those, they're all there in order. You can read the books. There's other people. If you want to go to a church that kind of deals with, it's not really a church, but it's a center that deals with this kind of stuff. There's a guy by the name of Michael Murdad. He works out of a center. They call it the Global Center for Christ Consciousness in Sedona, Arizona. And every Sunday at 10 o'clock on Facebook, he broadcasts a Sunday service. So that would be something else, but if you listen to people that are a little bit experienced with the spiritual stuff, you'll start picking it. You don't necessarily believe everything everybody says, including me, but if you find somebody that you resonate with, then take the information they provide and incorporate it into your life and see what happens. If it works, then take some more information from them and continue doing that. If you put it into your life and things go wonky for you, then that's not the person you should be listening to. So there's a couple of ideas for you. Hi, Tina. How you doing? Indeed. Just saying, right? Yeah. With the empathy business. Yeah. You can get lost in other people's problems, and that can also, be a distraction from your spiritual evolution. So it's kind of problematic when you start. That's what I mean. All this spiritual stuff is not always, rainbows and unicorns and stuff. That's one area where it can become a problem. You become sensitive, but then you get caught up. If you're not aware of how to handle it, you get caught up in other people's stuff. And then that can become your life, being caught up in everybody else's stuff. So, it's okay to be empathetic. You're going to be when you spiritually awaken. That's just the way it is. But the boundaries, like Cheryl was talking about, you have to have some boundaries. Being empathetic doesn't mean that you should absorb everybody's toxic energy. It just means that you can be kind to them because you understand. That's all. Hey, Chris. Hi, Melissa. Melissa says, with ego, pity, and sympathy mimic a logical reference to empathy within our psyches. Yeah. Yeah. And it's okay to use the intellect. I mean, we have one, we were for a reason, but it's kind of like a calculator. You know, if you need to do some math or balance your checkbook or something, you get the calculator out and you use it. And then when you're done, you put it away. A lot of people live in their heads. They don't ever put it away. And when, you know, when thoughts become compulsive, you know, that's psychosis. You know, that's a problem. That's out of control. So you know, it's pathological, really. So you need to, you know, just understand that also is a tool, your intellect. So use it when you need it, and then put it away. Just experience life. Just be in the moment and experience it. You don't have to think about everything. You don't have to, you know, the monkey mind, as they call it. These rapid firing thoughts that you can't take a breath in between. That's not healthy. Tina, nothing changes. Nothing changes. Exactly. Exactly. And since, you know, self-realization is about you, you're the one that has to change. News flash. Yeah. That's right. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Good point, Cheryl. Oh, spellcaster, get your X back. Okay, yeah, I don't know about that. Well, I don't see the dots. I don't know, but I don't. I have to deal with that later. Melissa. Yeah, Michael's goofy. He's a funny guy. Little different than I am. He's you may like him. I would give him a shot for sure. Hey, John, how you doing? Likewise. Okay, so now here we go. Sometimes these behaviors can become a form of a addiction, and addiction usually means an inability or refusal to deal with some emotional trauma. And so rather than deal with the cause of the pain and heal it, here we go again, people mask it through some form of addiction. But addictions can also be an attempt to ground oneself. A lot of people don't think about this, but sometimes this is what the problem is. You know, like going back to that, some behaviors. Why am I doing this? This isn't me. Well, this may be why. As you become spiritually awakened, it's sometimes difficult to remain 100% in this world. Oh boy, here we go. You feel like you're drifting into other realms, or that you're in other realms and only a tiny part of your consciousness is here, much like an out-of-body experience. But it's not just something that happens for a moment. It's a general state of being. And so addictions become a mechanism that pulls you back into your mind body and helps ground you into this world. And the problem is that any addiction stagnates your spiritual growth, because no matter how innocent or healthy the habit may seem, it's an attachment to the physical realm, and therefore ego or lower consciousness, which is what we're trying to get away from. Healing to you, John. Spiritual awareness is healing through self-realization. So, you know, a lot of people think healing, oh, magic, hocus pocus. Not so much. It's really just self-realization. The more you realize who you truly are, the more you're going to heal. The less of this damage, this baggage, this nonsense you're going to be carrying around with you. So, you know, for example, you're part of the Great Spirit. Therefore, you're not lacking in any way. That's a spiritual truth. You know, you're already complete. You're an eternal spiritual being. You know, so spiritual awakening is a recognition on a soul level, and then expressing that consciousness through human existence. So spiritual practice helps keep you focused on spiritual advancement until it no longer becomes necessary. Now, in the beginning, it's far more necessary because you get distracted and you just go back to the old ways, and you got to start all over, so to speak. At some point, when it dawns on you again that that's really what you're here to do. So in the beginning, spiritual practice, whatever that is for you, whatever connects you to your higher source, whatever helps you spiritually advance, it's something that you should do on a regular basis. But even that sometimes can become an addiction if it's not balanced. Sometimes people get into a spiritual practice and I'm also spiritual, and next thing you know, that's all they're doing, and that's not very spiritual at all. It's just weird. They're in denial. It's just another addiction, another distraction away from who they are and what the point of all this is. Kim says, why does it seem our ego is always against us when we need it to basically survive? Well, the ego is not who you are. It's just a tool that you use. But, it's kind of weird at the same time. It's a primitive part of the brain. And if you were ever to realize what you will at some point, but let me put it this way: when you realize who and what you are, the ego as you ceases to exist. It just vaporizes. It was never real in the first place. It's kind of like that scene in The Wizard of Oz where there's the old senator is back behind the curtain pulling levers and shouting into the microphone and all that, and Toto, the little dog, pulls the curtain back. And what's he shout? Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Because if you do, you'll realize that this great and powerful Oz is nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. And it's the same with the ego. So, sometimes it seems that it's against us, but really what's going on is it's just it's not a thing. It's not a person, but a way of understanding it is that it doesn't want to cease to exist. But its identity is through you. So when you realize the truth about things, you will no longer be identified with the ego. It just becomes a tool that you use when you need it. You want to catch a plane, you need to schedule the flight. That requires an ego. Everything we do requires an ego, but it's not who we are. That's the difference. And so it loses that. It's the dominant voice in your head. And it becomes a little whisper that and you can pay attention to it when you want and ignore it when you want, when you realize the true nature of the ego. And so it's kind of rebellious in the sense that it doesn't want that to happen. But again, it's not alive. There's no one in there. It's just a weird thing. Chris, even people who are overly obsessed with exercising usually stems from trauma and feeling lack. It's a form of addiction. Yes. And so the excuse is I'm getting healthy, and really they're just overdoing it because it distracts them from the truth. Yeah. And it can actually be detrimental. You overdo it, I mean, if you're a professional athlete or you're competing at that level, yeah, you need to train a lot. But most people, they don't need to train anywhere near that much. They just need to do something. Everything is a distraction. Yeah, it kind of is. If you let it be, you know, um, you just have to accept it. You know, you don't deny it. Don't deny it. Just allow everything to be. But that doesn't mean that you have to be defined by it. Doesn't mean you have to react or even respond. Gil says, how do ego boundaries relate to each other? Well, the ego is like we've discussed. Boundaries are just you deciding how much of what you want in your life and when. So it protects you from things that you find toxic or detrimental to your physical, mental, or spiritual health. So you set boundaries, you know. Ego, Trey's asking, ego equals survival. It's a survival. That's how it got started. It was designed for survival. But you know, most of us can do fine without being so identified with it. You know, if you think of a lizard, they don't have the conscious wherewithal to really do much other than things that are more or less instinctual. So without the ego, it would cease to exist. The ego is what says, "Oh, there's something over there. Danger, danger, warning." You know, we don't really need it so much. Yes, the ego does help us function, but it's not who we are. And that is, if you just think of it that way, you'll be fine. Yeah, the wind knocks our satellite out. That's the thing. Tina, yes, it was brought to my attention by a customer actually asking me lots of questions. I'm addicted to natural healing because my family relied on prescription drugs and they got addicted and deaths occurred. But I do feel that that's who I am. I'm a natural healer. What I do works for me. Well, there you go. There you go. Melissa, these comments are jumping. I like to look at our personalities as what we know. Yeah. The ego is a part of that personality. Yes. Freudian principles come in here. Jung work engages our imaginations and is popular because of how it aligns shadow work. Distinguishing your ego from your personality is similar to understanding your nature versus nurture. Yes. Yes. So you have physical reality and you have spiritual reality. Ultimately, you're an eternal spiritual being, but you're temporarily in the physical world inside of this mind body. And to live in balance is to understand the nature of all, and to is it to the best that you can, you know, but not to get attached to something that's not permanent. There you go. Stroking my ego there, John. Awesome, Trey. Yes, food for thought. Nanotechnology. Wow, we could go on that one for a while. But I need to get moving here because I'll try to do a healing circle tonight. Awesome, Cheryl. Synchronicities, another sign of spiritual awakening. So spiritual practice also, you know, it is something that you do that keeps placing you in alignment with your spiritual goals and alignment with your higher self. But it also consists of demonstrating one's spirituality. A lot of people miss this point. Living a spiritual life is spiritual mastery. You do this by actually living as a spiritual being while in human form. There are signs of spiritual awareness, and some of the indications of spiritual understanding include a calm state of being, objective observation of thoughts and emotions, understanding life, understanding spiritual matters, projecting love and compassion in all matters. These are signs of somebody who's spiritually advanced, something to keep in mind. As your individual physical and mental identity of ego starts to fade, it will be replaced with an unlimited, all-encompassing consciousness rather than an identity based on time and spatial boundaries. You'll realize you're part of the infinite and not bound by time or space. You'll understand reality through perfection. In essence, everything and everyone are already perfect. So you'll realize that everything is miraculous. The fact that we're here having this conversation is a miracle. An overwhelming sensation of gratitude will develop within you as you understand that all life is sacred. And through balance, you'll transcend duality, right and wrong, left and right, up and down, Republican, Democrat. You'll transcend the nonsense. Balance of both yin and yang energies results in rising beyond them. And that's the spiritual realm. It's beyond all that. Those things, duality only exists in this realm, the physical realm. So words, thoughts, and emotions will not adequately describe your state of consciousness because they are also of the physical world. And recognizing your immortality, you'll no longer fear change or death because it's just a transition. That's all. It's like you transition into this world, you're going to transition out. That's all. So you become very humble, realizing that you don't know what you don't know. You'll also discover that as you evolve, the truth will be revealed to you. And each time you're shifting consciousness will leave you in a higher place, never to be the same again. So spiritual awakening balances and energizes your energy centers. In other words, when you hear people talk about chakra cleansing and all that kind of stuff, that's really all it is. It's just spiritually awakening, and your energy centers will become energized. So as you spiritually awaken, you bring the divine truth into your physical being, and that energizes your centers. You'll see God, you'll see things as God sees it, and then act accordingly. That's really what it's about. That's who we are at the end of the day. So the more you awaken, the more you'll behave as such. You'll heal and bring healing to the world because that's what spirit does. It may appear to the world, as though you have some kind of psychic abilities or you're a great teacher or you have clear insight. But in truth, it's that you're just a higher state of consciousness and you strive to hold the presence of God. And everybody's going to get there. Everyone. We're all the same being. We just, again, the viewpoint of the ego is that everything's broken up and there's this separation. We're separate from God. We're separate from each other. None of that's true. It's an illusion created by the ego. You have to have this viewpoint to navigate space and time, but then you start believing that space and time are a reality, when in fact they're not. It's at best a sub-reality, more accurately an illusion. So most importantly, you demonstrate by example that we are all part of the whole. Therefore, everyone is more than capable of spiritual awakening, and everyone will, in their time, spiritually awaken. So what can you do in the meantime? Rise to the highest version of yourself that you can be in any moment, and then shine the light for other souls in search of home. That's what you do. All right, so that's it for Signs of Spiritual Awakening. We're running out of time here. Cheryl says, I've found also that anger disappears as you grow stronger on the spiritual journey and is replaced with love, compassion, and more understanding. Well said. It looks like Katya's in here. Hi, Katya. Kim says, like we are all pieces of the same puzzle. Indeed. And what happens if you don't put all the pieces in place? The puzzle's not complete. That's how important you are. It takes all of us. All right. So we'll do a healing circle here. So this is water. You don't know what we do for kicks around here. This is water out of our well, unfiltered. And Kim put it in a big glass jar last night and set it out on the back deck on the full moon. I don't know if you've ever done that, but it's something to do. You'll be surprised. Recognition, indeed, John. Recognition. Yep. Drinking the moon water. All right. So let's move on to a healing circle. So you're asking how to shift into those higher states. We'll do something that's kind of like a little meditation you can do on your own. Let me put this banner up in case someone comes in so they know what we're doing here. There we go. All right. So everyone that wants to join in the healing circle will gather around. John. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. Everybody gather around and join hands. Form a circle. That's it. Everybody join hands. Now, how many of you feel that? If you don't, that's fine. But if you're new to this and even if you're watching a replay and you join the healing circle and you visualize sitting with us in a circle, joining hands, and you feel as if somebody's placing their hands in yours, there's confirmation that energetically we're together, we're one, and we're connecting at this moment. All right, so with your eyes and mouth gently closed, breathing through the nose down to that energy center just below the belly button, and then exhale back out through the nose. Deep breath, inhale the peace, and then exhale all tension. And again, big deep breath way down. And exhale all troublesome thoughts, all stress, all disease. One more time. Inhale peace. And exhale everything that is not peace. All right, continue breathing on your own. And then follow the breath inward. Move deeper into your mind, body, and then deeper into your consciousness just by following the breath. And then settle into the relaxation and go even deeper still. Let the physical world go for a while. Let the healing energy build and flow. Follow the breath deep into the body, deep into the mind. So deep into the body, and then notice any sensations. Allow them to be. Don't judge them. Just observe. They're merely sensations of the body. That's all. Just let your consciousness drift throughout your body, and any sensations of any kind, just notice them. But then don't judge them and don't get distracted by them. They're just sensations of the body. Move deeper inward. What are you feeling? Move even deeper inward. Who is feeling? There is feeling, but who is it that is feeling? Now move deeper inward still. What are you thinking? Move deeper inward. Who is thinking? There is thinking, but who is it that is thinking? Move deeper inward. What are you seeing with your mind's eye? Consciously, what are you seeing? Learn to develop this. Your conscious eye, your spiritual eye, not with your eyeballs, but still, it's like we call it seeing, but it's like a knowing. What do you see with your mind's eye? Now move deeper inward. Who is seeing with the mind's eye? Their sight, but who is it that is seeing? Move deeper inward. Now, for the next minute or so, remain still but alert. Watch all the movement within the stillness. Who is sitting in the stillness? Who is watching the movement? And then in about a minute, we'll continue. Just contemplate that. Just sit and observe. Okay, now before we close, let's take this presence that we're holding, this connection to the higher realms, spirit, God, if you will, and let's release it unto the world. Form a doorway, form a bridge to planet Earth and everybody on it, and saturate the planet with this peace, this unconditional love, this calm, this still, this mental clarity, this healing energy. Like bathing planet Earth and everyone on it in healing energy. And so it is. All right, slowly open your eyes. Now, for people that are new to meditation, that's kind of how you can get started. And just sit quietly, somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed. Close your eyes. You get a comfortable upright position. You want to be comfortable, but you don't want to fall asleep. You want to remain alert, and then just observe. And what'll happen over time is you'll start to make deeper and deeper connections to higher and higher realities, which are actually, you're getting closer and closer and closer to spiritual source. So you're asking how you do that shift. That's an actual practice to do it. And I think at the back of that book, or in that book, that Limited Limitless I was talking about, there's a meditation that's similar to what we just did, but it's just a reminder. And so you can look at that before you meditate and just keep doing that. Even if it's only 5 minutes a day for starters, but pick a time and just every day do it. Make an appointment with yourself, and over time those shifts will start happening. And then you can come to the live, you can watch Michael, you can read the books, but you can ask questions and we'll talk about this stuff. And it'll happen. It will happen. Everybody here will tell you that. Kim's reminding everybody to drink a full glass of water and have a great rest of the week. Awesome, Cheryl. Feeling much love and light with this soul family, warmth and peace. I'm glad. John got goosebumps. Right on. Right on, bro. Hi, Tazin. Tazin was in the healing circle and feels calm. Good. That's a good way to feel. That's a good place to be. All right. As always, I honor the God in you. And remember, until the next time, the only way to bring about the greater good is to be the greater good. Good night.